This video is about the famous people and celebrities who passed away in 1975 in the United States. This is the second episode. Before we proceed, please subscribe to our channel to support us. George Rowe. He was born in September 1894 and he died in February 1975. His age was 80 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. George Rowe was an American character actor of silent films era, known for his cross-eyed looks. Born in Maine on September 15, 1894, Rowe broke into the film industry in the 1919 short film Tough Luck, starring Snub Pollard. Over his 10-year career, he appeared in over 125 shorts, many of which for Hal Roach, including several with Stan Laurel, and in the iconic Our Gang series. His Rowe studio contract was terminated in 1925, after which he toured the West Coast in vaudeville for a time. Rowe's film career ended with the advent of sound film. In February 1919, Rowe was married to Wanda Lorraine Rowe. Rowe died on February 5, 1975 in Santa Barbara, California at the age of 80. Was interred at the Santa Barbara Cemetery. His widow died on April 26, 1983 at the age of 90 and was interred at the same cemetery alongside him. Robert Strauss. He was born in November 1913 and he died in February 1975. His age was 61 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was stroke. Robert Strauss was an American actor. He became most familiar in Hollywood films of the 1950s, such as Stalag 17 in 1953, for which he was nominated for an Academy Award in the category of Best Supporting Actor. Strauss began his career as a classical actor, appearing in The Twelfth Night and Macbeth on Broadway in 1930. Comedy became his specialty, and he was known best as Stalag 17's Stanislas Animal Kuzawa, a role he created in the original 1951 Broadway production and reprised in the 1953 film adaptation, for which he was nominated for an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor. His comic characters included a maniac called Jack the Slasher in 1953 Bob Hope comedy film Here Come the Girls, and Daisy Bay's cretinous cousin Romeo's Crack in 1959 musical comedy Leo Labner, based on the Broadway show. He also was featured in the 1955 Marilyn Monroe comedy film The 7-Year Itch. In most serious parts, Strauss appeared in the 1956 war film Attack with Jack Palance, Eddie Albert, and Lee Marvin. He also had an important supporting role in the 1955 drama The Man with the Golden Arm. Bill Walsh. He was born in September 1913 and he died in January 1975. His age was 61 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was heart attack. Bill Walsh was a film producer, screenwriter, and comics writer who primarily worked on live-action films for Walt Disney Productions. He was born in New York City for his work on Mary Poppins. He shared an Academy Award nomination for Best Picture with Walt Disney and for Best Writing Screenplay based on material from another medium with Don DeGrady. He also wrote the Mickey Mouse comic strip for more than 2 decades. In 1970, an article in Variety listed him as the second most successful film producer of all time in terms of money earning movies, even though he was a guy no one's ever heard of. While at UC, Walsh produced a freshman show that happened to be seen by Barbara Stanwyck and Frank Fay, who were passing through town in a show, Tattle's Tales. They hired Walsh at $12 per week to write the show, which went to Broadway, where it ran for 5 weeks. Walsh then followed Stanwyck and Fay to Hollywood. He worked as a press agent for 15 years at the Ettinger Company and started writing jokes as a sideline on the suggestion of client Edgar Buchanan. Louis Jordan. He was born in July 1908 and he died in February 1975. His age was 66 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was heart attack. Louis Jordan was an American saxophonist multi-instrumentalist, songwriter, band leader who was popular from the late 1930s to early 1950s. Known as the King of the Jukebox, he earned his highest profile towards the end of the swing era. Specializing in the alto sax, Jordan played all forms of the saxophone as well as piano and clarinet. He also was a talented singer with great comedic flair and fronted his own band for more than 20 years. He duetted with some of the biggest solo singing stars of his time, including Bing Crosby, Ella Fitzgerald, and Louis Armstrong. Jordan began his career in big band swing jazz in the 1930s, coming to the public's attention as part of Chick Webb's hard swinging band, though he became better known as an innovative popularizer of jumping blues, a swinging, up-tempo, dance-oriented hybrid of jazz, blues, and boogie-woogie. Typically performed by smaller bands consisting of 5 or 6 players, jump music featured shouted, highly syncopated vocals and earthly, comedic lyrics on contemporary urban themes. It strongly emphasized the rhythm selection of piano, bass, and drums. After the mid-1940s, this mix was often augmented by electric guitar. Dave Alexander. He was born in June 1947 and he died in February 1975. His age was 27 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was pulmonary edema. Dave Alexander was an American musician, best known as the original bassist of influential proto-punk band The Stooges. He was inducted to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2010 as a member of The Stooges. After his family relocated to Ann Arbor, Michigan from Whitemore Lake, Michigan, Alexander attended Pioneer High School in Ann Arbor, where he met brothers Ron and Scott Ashton. He dropped out after 45 minutes on the first day of his senior year in 1965 to win a bet. Later in 1965, Ron sold his motorcycle and then went to England to see The Who and to try and find the Beatles. Alexander and the Ashton brothers soon met Iggy Pop and formed The Stooges in 1967. Although Alexander was a total novice of his instrument, he was a quick learner and subsequently had a hand in arranging, composing, and performing all of the songs that appeared on the band's first 2 albums, The Stooges and Funhouse. He is often credited by Pop and was credited by the late Ron Ashton in interviews with being the primary composer of the music for the Stooges songs We Will Fall, Little Doll, Dirt, and 1970. P.G. Wodehouse. He was born in October 1881 and he died in February 1975. His age was 93 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. P.G. Wodehouse was an English writer and one of the most widely read humorists of the 20th century. His creations include The Father-Brained, Bertie Wooster, and his sagacious valet, Jeeves, the immaculate and loquacious Smith, Lord Emsworth, and the Blandings Castle Set, the oldest member, with stories about golf, and Mr. Mulliner, with tall tales on subjects ranging from bibulous bishops to megalomantic movie moguls. Born in Guildford, the third son of a British magistrate based in Hong Kong, Wodehouse spent happy teenage years at Dulwich College, to which he remained devoted all his life. After leaving school, he was employed by a bank but disliked the work and turned to writing in his spare time. His early novels were mostly school stories, but he later switched to comic fiction. Most of Wodehouse's fiction is set in his native United Kingdom, although he spent much of his life in the United States and used New York and Hollywood as settings for some of his novels and short stories. He wrote a set of Broadway musical comedies during and after the First World War, together with Guy Bolton and Jerome Kern, that played an important part in the development of the American musicals. Morgan Taylor. He was born in April 1903 and he died in February 1975. His age was 71 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. Morgan Taylor was an American hurdler and the first athlete to win 3 Olympic medals in the 400-meter hurdles. He was the flag bearer for the United States in his last Olympics in 1932. In 1924, Taylor won the 400-meter Olympic trials with a world best time of 52.6 seconds, which was accepted as a national record, but not as a world record. While winning the gold medal at the 1924 Olympics, he clocked the same time, but knocked one hurdle, and the record was again not ratified by the International Association of Athletics Federations. In 1925, he won his second AAU title in the 440-yard hurdles in the world best time of 53.8 seconds, but this record was discounted too. Finally, the IAFF accepted his 400-meter record of 52.0 seconds, set at the 1928 Olympic trials. While studying at Grinnell College, Taylor competed in both track and field and football. He won the NCAA 220 yards hurdle title in 1927 and finished second in the long jump in 1925. After graduating, he worked as a salesman for the Chicago Tribune, then as a teacher and athletic coach. His son, F. Morgan Taylor Jr., also competed in track and field as a long jumper. Thanks for watching the video. Please don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Have a nice day.